Welcome back to Aetheral space. In the new world of Yosloth, Dragon Hajian must make difficult decisions. Does he eat grass or does he roll in it?
I almost spit out my fucking drink. Yeah, I've been drinking wine as we record this batch of like 4 Aetheral spaces. So I'm gonna be like progressively more tipsy each episode.
It's the best experience.
Yeah. All right. So yes, last time we left off, they were on Yaslov. Dragon was helping out the girl. Bruno was like, "I don't trust your god," and Skipper like fucking went cold blooded for a moment and was like, "Quiet, you." And then they were exploring this place, and Dragon's like, "Come on, I want to go back." So they start going back, and then like something was occurring, and then it ended. And this chapter is of course 6 pages again, the classic Tanhony standard.
Yep.
Is that like your minimum? Is that like I set out to write at least 6? Fair enough. It's consistent. I'll give you that. All right. Are we ready?
Yeah. Please proceed.
Okay, said Skipper, so far away across the field that Dragon could barely hear him. Keep this distance between us. Wait, Dragon's already back?
Yeah, we're skipping ahead a little bit.
Oh, so I guess he just saw something out of the corner of his eyes. I thought there was going to be a boss battle. What? Dragon said, pretending he couldn't hear to provide himself some petty vengeance. What? Skipper shouted back. I can't hear you! What? Dragon frowned. I can't hear you! You can't hear me? No! Yes, you can. Stop bullshitting. Dragon smirked as Skipper rolled his eyes.
Whoa.
How the tables had turned. He hadn't even been certain that Skipper was capable of feeling annoyed, so it was good to get confirmation on that. That's a little weird because he already got the confirmation and had a similar exchange last time in 2.1, I think.
What? Yeah, but Skipper didn't, get annoyed.
Oh, I thought he did. So, Skipper said, hand on his hip. Hey, you did it right this time.
Yeah, I'm not sure why I suddenly remembered.
Not 101, since that would have been the first lesson. Neat Aether Tricks 102. We've had more than one lesson, said Dragon. It should be Neat Aether Tricks 111, if anything. Skipper waved his hand dismissively. Technicalities. Try not to worry about these things. Anyway, the technique we're going to be learning today is called an Aether Ping. Ooh, they mentioned that in the previous chapter. Yeah. You didn't name that, did you? No, I didn't, blinked Skipper. How did you know? It doesn't sound absolutely moronic. Skipper laughed loudly, as if the jab had been aimed at someone else and not him. I know you love me, really. Dragon crossed his arms, shifting his feet slightly in the grass. Anyway, Baka, what's this Aether Ping, then? From the name, I'm thinking it's like a radar? I believe that's exactly what it was. Smart boy, grinned Skipper. Big brain. Correctamundo. An Aether Ping is a method you can use to sense other Aether users and pinpoint their locations. Oh my god, it's like being a fucking stand user. Okay, said Dragon, cupping his chin. That did sound useful. How's it done?
So we can Spider-Man
Skipper did some stretches, getting limber as he explained. Usually you keep your Aether close to you for defense, right? Have it coating your body like armor? Or have it enhance a gunshot or something. Or that, Skipper acknowledged. But with an Aether Ping, you disperse your Aether in every direction, sending it as far as you can. Dragon cocked his head. And leave myself defenseless? Well, yes, but you're pretty much defenseless anyway, so it won't be that much of a change for you. Go on, give it a shot. So this is interesting, because this implies that after the Aethers left their body, they can still feel and control it.
To a limited degree.
Which makes sense, because we've seen Musashi do that with thrusters, but...
Yeah.
Still, this is like confirmation of that. Dragon rolled his eyes and concentrated, put himself into the proper state of mind to use his Aether. A kind of calm anticipation. Tendrils of blue
that's why I was doing on
began...
Discord. That's my Discord site has been on Discord. I've just been using my Aether.
Is that it?
No.
What was it actually?
I forgot.
Oh. Tendrils of blue energy began to coil around his body, flickering in and out of existence every couple of seconds. It felt like he was a lightning rod, gathering the power of the heavens around himself. Nice, said Skipper. Now let it go. Dragon squeezed his eyes closed. That was easier said than done. His Aether was loath to leave him, clinging to his body almost possessively. When he used it to enhance a gunshot, the Aether had been able to attach itself to the projectile, but it was having a much harder time moving on independently. What I'm curious is if the Aether can feel stuff, why can it only detect other Aether users? Wouldn't it just detect any objects?
Well, we'll see.
He heard Skipper, still prattling on. It's a little tricky, he was saying, but you can get the hang of it. Just push it away. It's a forceful thing. Dragon understood. He was going with the flow too much, thinking of his Aether as something more powerful than himself. He'd mistaken the relationship. His Aether wasn't capable of doing anything, not even manifesting, without him to control it. He was the one in control. He pushed against it with his mind, insisting that it disperse. It writhed around him reluctantly. Again! Move, he told it, smashing the thought into his power with the speed and force of a freightliner. Move! His Aether began to peel itself from his body, dancing in the air immediately around him instead. Don't let it cling on, kiddo, said Skipper. You gotta let it go entirely. Again, then, Dragon commanded his Aether to move, dozens of times at once, each directive rushing through his mind like a torpedo. Wow, it takes a cogitant that many thoughts and only takes Skipper one. Hashtag crownless. For a moment, it seemed like it was too much for his Aether, that it would just demanifest entirely. Then there was a flare of blue light, and his Aether spread out like a static shock in every direction. Blades of grass shivered as his Aether passed through them, and there was a gentle humming noise that filled Dragon's ears. The Aether continued on for maybe a meter or so before completely dispersing. But to Dragon, it felt like it could have kept going forever. That's a horrible radar if it can only detect people within like 3 feet of you. An involuntary grin spread across his face. I did it, he said. Skipper nodded. Yep, you sure did. I mean, it didn't go far enough to actually be of any use, but it's still a confidence booster, I guess. Dragon frowned, raised an eyebrow. Why couldn't he just be allowed to have this? Well, he said, how far is it supposed to go? Far enough that it can touch whoever you're trying to sense. When it does, their own Aether will automatically try to repel yours, and you can sense the location of that collision. Hence the Aether Ping. Isn't there... I wonder if there's an advanced technique where you just make your Aether not repel.
Yeah, if you know what you're doing, you can just sort of...
Yeah. That's the... I like it because in anime, in a lot of fiction, there's like this idea of like killing intent or like masking your presence. But with Aether, it's like a literal physical force, where the masking your presence would be making it not react consciously, which takes a level of skill. So it gives that sort of like a physical thing to actually represent that, which I really like. If you wanted to be stealthy boy. Hence the Aether Ping. If you were having trouble sensing someone within a meter of you, I'd worry about your eyesight before your Aether. Ha ha, said Dragon flatly. You're hilarious. Skipper grinned. Oh, jeez, he said, scratching the back of his head. Thanks. A scream rang out, long and blood-curdling. Dragon, shut up! The smile vanished from Skipper's face in an instant, his eyes as wary and attentive as an eagle's. Shouldn't there be an...
there should be. You are completely right.
An apostrophe. Instantly, emerald green Aether flared around him, the grass around his feet vibrating from the sheer force being presented to it. Stay here, he said, voice low, face serious. Isn't Skipper's Aether green as well?
Yeah, that's why it just appears.
Oh, he's the one pinging. Duh. No, said Dragon. Weak sparks of his own blue Aether coiled around his arms. That made Skipper smile again. When they returned to camp a minute or two later, they'd run the whole way. There was a small crowd gathered around the medical tent, worried-looking humilists glancing at each other, the concern clear in their gaze. What happened? Said Skipper, skidding to a stop in front of the tent. Dragon arrived a second later. One humilist, a young man with mismatched eyes, looked at Skipper uneasily. We're not sure, he said. We think there was an attack. Well, there was something in the ruins. It came out. It attacked. It got in. We're not sure. Dragon's heart sank. He knew he'd seen something on the way out of there. He should have mentioned it.
Saw Ornstein and Smo.
Is he dead? Fucking Ornstein and Smoke come out of the ruins. Have you been messing in the Gene Tyrant's lair? Is he dead? Said Dragon, throat bone dry. The humilist shook his head. No, but his arm! It got his arm bad. All mold, you know? Bad! I should have been there, muttered Skipper. Dragon was so glad he hadn't been there. To be frank, he doubted he could have done anything in the first place anyway. As Skipper and the humilist talked, Dragon heard new footfalls on the grass behind him. He turned to look and saw Ruth and Serena approaching. What happened? Gaped Serena, looking at the crowd in front of her. There's such a ruckus! Ruth didn't say anything, but looked to Dragon questioningly. Some kind of attack, apparently, he said, as an answer. As answer?
Yeah,
as an answer?
That works. He said as answer works.
He said as answer.
Yeah.
Some kind of attack, apparently, he said as answer.
As answer to her questioning gaze.
Oh.
It works.
Something came out of the palace and attacked somebody. Serena gasped in exaggerated shock. Again, Ruth didn't say anything, but the concern was clear on her face. He looked back to the humilist. You say a thing... Wait, who's talking right now? Dragon?
Dragon.
Okay. You say a thing came out of the ruins? He said. What kind of thing? What did it look like? The Humilist fidgeted. He obviously wasn't used to being questioned like this. Like a fly, or a wasp, maybe. A little like a spider, too, what with all the legs. It was big, bigger than a person, easy. And fast, too, from what I saw. Wow, said Serena in awe. That sounds awful. Dragon cast her an uneasy glance. Was she all there, mentally? Well, clearly all of the crew, barring Dragon, obviously, weren't all there mentally, but it seemed more pronounced with Serena. The crowd parted slightly as a Humilist doctor came marching out of the tent. Like all her fellows, her clothes were pretty much patchwork, but this patchwork seemed to have had a reasonable amount of effort out into cleaning it. Enough to perform surgery, at least. You'll keep the arm, she said, pulling a medical mask off her face, but it was a close
Don't do that, you're in a crowd!
Call me, Corona. Call me if the situation changes. With that, she began to walk away, presumably back to her personal tent, only to find Skipper blocking her path. He looked down at her seriously. What did it? He said. From the wounds. What could you see? She sighed. Look, she said, eyes blinking blearily. I'm tired, and I just want to get some rest. Could we discuss this later? Skipper's face was still serious. It seemed to Dragon that this was some kind of world record. He'd gone 30 seconds without making a stupid joke. A lot of serious Skipper recently. He spoke. Excuse me. Listen, Mila, the doctor said, posture adjusting to a slouch as she accepted the fact that this conversation was going to happen. Listen, Mila, said Skipper. If you didn't kill whatever this thing was, that means it's still out there. If it's still out there, it'll try again. It's got a taste for us now. Wow, he really is fucking Jeff Goldblum. What attacked the guy? What kind of wounds were they? Clever girl. Mila shifted uncomfortably. It was clear now that, as much as she'd been tired, she was also trying to get just what she'd seen out of her mind. Bites, mostly, with sharp teeth, dozens of them, lining the inside of the mouth like a shark. Dragon winced. He didn't much fancy seeing what that did to somebody's arm. How the hell had Mila managed to save it? And, continued Mila, I think proboscis too. At least one, maybe two or more. There was some drainage of blood around the affected area, so I think it was feeding that way too. Doesn't sound like a natural creature, said Skipper, hand to his chin. Mila shook her head, and when she went to keep on walking, Skipper didn't stop her. She passed the group and disappeared into a smaller residential tent. Skipper glanced at the crew. Thoughts? Instantly, Serena stuck her hand up as far as it would go, hopping in place as if worried Skipper wouldn't notice her. Oh, she said, I know, it must be a leftover from the Gene Tyrants, right? The one that lived here was called the Lady of Flies, and this monster is a big fly. Bruno interjected, looking somewhat embarrassed as he landed from Serena's hopping. There's no way it could be a leftover. It couldn't have survived for 1,000 years all by itself. Dragon spoke up. It could be a descendant, then, from experiments left in the ruins after the 1,000 revolutions? As Dragon spoke, he noticed Bruno shoot a glare at him. Still no love lost there, then. Fucking Bruno. He can't even talk.
Shut the fuck up, Jonah.
It's like those memes have you ever seen, like when the kid you hate talks and you just can't stand
Abacchio.
it. Abacchio with Giorno. Skipper slapped a hand against his knee. He'd taken to doing that instead of clapping since he'd lost his arm. Hey, like you. I
That's
like
a real
it, he
knee
said,
slapper.
eyes closed, nodding. Yes, good work, junior detectives. Please don't ever call me that again, said Dragon, horrified. I won't, Skipper lied. Dragon sighed. He wondered what the clerks back at Gestalt Station were doing right now. Probably nothing. Oh, how Dragon would love to be doing nothing. He was pulled from his reverie by another knee slap from Skipper. Anyway, he called out, striking what was presumably meant as a heroic pose, do you know what this kind of situation calls for? Swift evacuation? Said Dragon hopefully. With the frizz? No way! Skipper laughed. No, he said, as if the very notion was absurd. Not that at all. He grinned, and there was a fevered anticipation in his eyes. It's time for a bug hunt. Oh, like in Pokemon. Dragon blinked. God, his life sucked. I love how sometimes the story's very serious and, like, what's the word I'm looking for? Like, pretty good, like, very prose heavy, and other times it's just like, man, the world sucks!
This blows.
That's the end. By the way, I didn't even realize that was the end. I was so into it. Did you have to watch Magic School Bus when you were in school as a kid?
I did not know why.
Oh, because you didn't react to my joke. Everyone over here, like, watched that growing up. And there was, like, so there was this teacher named Miss Frizzle, and she would take kids on her Magic School Bus, and they'd, like, yeah, they'd go on, like, field trips inside the human body or, like, to outer space. And there was this one nerd kid named Arnold who never wanted to do them because it made him anxious. And he was like, can we just have a normal field trip? And the theme song, and all the kids go, with the frizz? No way! And it just reminded me of Dragon being like, are we going to evacuate? And Skipper's like, no way! Alright. So I really like that. What's interesting to me, however, and I don't think you forgot about it because you're too good of a writer for that, but we're already a bit of a ways into Arc 2, and we still don't even have a hint as to why the fuck these people captured Dragon to begin with. Because the first arc was all about his capture, the crash landing, and coping, and then he kind of joined them, but now they're like resting, I assume, in hiding from the supremacy they mentioned. So this is like a side adventure, but we still don't know why the fuck they actually brought him. Because he may like these guys, right? But Dragon is still like a good guy, so if they ask him to do some kind of heinous crime, he might just be like, no, I'm not gonna hack into the supremacy. I won't. Or whatever. I know he's not a hacker, they mentioned that before, but I'm just curious why the fuck they stole him. It hasn't even been brought up yet.
Yeah,
and I wonder if Dragon's even thought about that.
Dragon has he's sort of slipped his mind, what with everything.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. Because if they have him do something villainous, there might be another conflict again. Then Bruno will be like, see, I knew we couldn't trust him. And then Bruno will fucking break him like a bag of potatoes.
I'll take care of Skipper. Moody Blues.
That's his fucking Aether Attack. I actually forgot, what is Bruno and Serena's Aether?
So Bruno's is a force field. He can make like more stronger than like the normal Aether protection.
Right.
And Serena's is anything she touches turns into a sword.
Yes. And I also noticed something about the Aetheral
And
space
she's also
copter.
like ridiculously strong.
Yeah, she's big girl. I noticed something. I brought it up to you a while ago, but I haven't mentioned it on video. For the audience that haven't noticed, if you look at the cover for Aetheral Space, the lines, all the colors are the colors of like the main character's Aether. And even Bruno and Serena spits into like the dark purple and lighter purplish pink.
Yeah.
I think that's a very cool touch.
Thank you.
Yeah. It also has kind of a Dark Side of the Moon Pink Floyd album cover vibe.
Right. Anything else we want to say in this episode?
Let me think. I kind of like... I know it hasn't been a format yet, but we asked last time what the favorite character. I kind of like the format of like leaving them with the audience with like a question to answer.
Yeah, sure.
So, let me think. Oh, I know. If you had Aether, what would your Aether ability be? Don't worry, Tanhony doesn't have time to respond to the comments, so he can't tell you it's not canon.
Maybe I will. Maybe if you comment carelessly, you may become canon.
Oh my god.
That
would be a great... If you ever open a Patreon, that would be a great, like, if you donate this tier, I will put you in Aetheral space. Alright. Thank you very much, guys, for watching, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
Bye.
Bye!